The whole time I thought of how ingenious that was. She must now be wondering how I knew, but the relative coldness of my handling her the code would just speak for someone who notices but has no feelings. Alright, so you pick the code. You see a girl standing there. Why don't you just ask her if that's her code? She answers yes. Then you pick it up, give it to her, and you have the conversation. I was really good. No, you weren't. I think I was even in a better mood than the last time. I don't know why. And because from the time I gave her a code, I did not even bother looking at her. Maybe she looked at me. Now it was I who left the civic center first, and maybe she went after me the same way I did before. It must have been like that, and if not, then never mind. I felt really strong and in a rush, like I had just won a sports match or something. Now I was the center of the interest. When I look at the events now, I don't know how Miyori reacted. She might very well just have taken the code and kept on chatting with her classmates. Anyway, I finally felt I was using my second chance. It was absolutely wonderful! Miyori too. The next dance class was really exceptional for one reason. Miyori. Sometimes, even to those who think they never experience lucky moments, luck eventually comes, and I had the privilege to be extremely lucky that second dance lesson. Something so unbelievable happened that even during my long week of dreaming, I was not able to think of such a possibility. We gathered in the lobby. Mori and I were looking to find Miyori. Eventually, we saw her come in. Instantly my legs felt a little weak and my whole body became somewhat unstable. But I never showed it. Who knows how I looked? I hope people can't see it. I mean, I was breathing and walking normally. Only my heartbeat was much faster and I think I was able to hide my sudden weakness as well. And I didn't feel hot in my face, so I shouldn't have been red. At that time, I was already in love with Miyori. I thought about her all the time. She was so beautiful. So unbelievably wonderful that there simply could not be anyone else who could match her. Logically, I often doubted whether I was worth her. I mean, there is she, so beautiful, and here am I. Well, what was I compared to her? She was really so high above me that I could not do anything else but be grateful for breathing the same air, for the fact that she even looked at me. Miyori. It just had to be enough for me. One look from her and I should be happy forever. In all my dreams I thought of thousands of ways how I could be with her. We would get lost in a forest and had to survive somehow. Or we would meet while on our bicycles. Or we would be secret agents who didn't know about each other. Yeah, sometimes it was also too unrealistic, so I reduced it to something more simple. Still, I enjoyed it so much, thinking that maybe I would have to protect her, that she would like me because of that. I also often imagined what it would be like at the party for the first graders. It was horrible, admit. Not only did I dwell in these unrealistic dreams, but I also thought about things that were in the past, things with which I couldn't possibly do anything now. Was it so pathetic? Those things were completely unrealistic. Often I would think of what 10 possibilities of what could happen on the first day of the dance class, which was already over. Of course now I really took into account what I knew, so in this aspect it was more realistic, but in terms of real relevance it was even more utopian. Still, it was so exciting to dream about things now that I knew the layout of the civic center because I could now think about the whole path of the robber I would chase, or how I would use objects to disable some other attackers who would threaten Miyori. Whenever I saw Miyori at school, even though she was in the distance and couldn't possibly notice me, I instantly felt that strange feeling, something between being weak, happy and insecure. I was hardly able to speak to Mori, who was with me. Sometimes I would notice her later, so she would just appear in front of me. For me, this was a situation that could easily lead to my death. Of heart attack, of course. I could literally feel something like thousands of needles all over my body, my head dizzy, not to mention the pulse. It always took me long minutes to return back to normal, and it wasn't all that easy to try to look normal. Sometimes I felt I was probably completely red. I could feel the heat on my forehead, just like when I had a fever. It took great effort to even talk to Mori in that kind of situation. It was like being paralyzed for a few moments. I never felt anything like this before. And I never stopped feeling like a nobody every time I thought about Miyori. Think about it, Miyori, I thought she was the most beautiful being, but even if unaffected by my feelings, Miyori still would be at least average looking. But me, I was ugly. Really, looking into the mirror, I saw this monster with so many flaws that no one should look at me. Miyori can't really have interested me. And I always imagined those spectacular situations, but every time I woke up in the morning, everything was different all of a sudden. And the night you could daydream even more intensely. Just before I went to sleep, all those great scenarios played in my head. Even in the evening, I already felt strong. I was always optimistic, and the dreams and fantasies didn't seem so unlikely. But the next morning, the sun awoke me, and suddenly all those dreams were just to laugh at. It was so clear to me, Miyori can't possibly want someone like me. Still, if the things were at least in a state like this, I could go on dreaming. Because there still was a chance. Of course, I was a little afraid that she might have a boyfriend, but I somehow felt she doesn't. What plagued me more was the fact that this situation can't last forever. If I just keep on doing what I do, one day it will be over. But for me, it felt so disrespectful towards her that I would try something on her, like talking to her or similar. Because I always felt those were just pick-up conversations. I wanted something honest and natural to happen, and even in my wildest dreams, I never even touched Miyori, not romantically anyway, because I didn't want to touch her will. It felt so terrible if I would ever think of how she should or would react. It was disrespectful. But the rush of seeing Miyori was nothing compared to the announcement of the teachers once our group was in the hall too. Well, the teachers brought a few girls from the other group, because we had too many boys. And Miyori was one of them. I guess the moment overwhelmed me. Normally, I would have to think a few months to decide on an action as radical as asking a non-classmate to dance, but now I could not believe that I was doing what I was doing. When we got to the signal to pick the girls, I rushed towards Miyori. I did not even care about the looks of the others, but I was among the very first to reach the girls, so it must have looked like I was running. I tried not to imagine that such embarrassing was the situation. But I did it. I came to her and asked her to dance. I mean, I knew there was little chance she would refuse, but still, when she said yes, I was happy. What more could I have asked for? She said yes. So she did not feel disgust or anything. I was good enough. This was a huge thing for me. For the first time I dared to make a move on a girl. And it went alright. I did not know what to say, of course, so I was silent while we made our way on the floor. But inside, I was the happiest person in the world. Me and Miyori. I did it. How was this possible? I had no explanation. Did I panic? Was it a reflex? It was not me. But then again, it was me, and that made me happy. Because I have done something, finally. And it was Miyori. But that wasn't the end. Miyori took my arm and we made our way onto the floor along with all the other pairs. Then we started to dance. I put my arms around her, she did the same. And there, I felt her. I could not believe what I felt at that moment. This girl was so tender. I thought she would fall apart in my hands. I have never experienced anything like that before. Wow, I didn't expect he would actually do such a thing. I managed to dance with her half of the lesson when we had to switch parts. But I was delighted, absolutely finished and happy. My head was spinning from all the things that happened today, that I actually had the courage to do such a thing. I felt so good, like a winner. The rush in my head was the feeling of victory over myself. I can do it, and I did it! I went there and asked her. Simple, really it does not get any simpler. The rest of the class was with Nami. I could relax with her and we had a good time. I liked that she did not mention me and Miyori, although I must have been extremely obvious. I was thinking maybe Miyori will hate me for that. I came and forced her to dance with me and everyone saw me go to her. It must have been very embarrassing for her. And so, when we finished the class, I had mixed feelings. But gradually, on the way home, happiness prevailed. And I had a talk with Mori, who naturally interrogated me on the whole subject. And for it was great. I thought so too. But never more did Mori come to the lessons to our class. We had some girls come 1 or 2 more times, but no Miyori. I did not know. Did I blow it? Was it the wrong thing to do? I did not even know what to do when I would meet her in school. This could really happen, as so many students were out taking walks on breaks. But now was a different time. I could fix what I had done wrong, maybe? And because in the course of time I realized Miyori probably did not hate what I did that evening, I was looking forward to the lesson. I made especially sure I looked my best. When we gathered in the lobby, Mori and I were looking for Miyori. Then we saw her. When it was time, we went to Hall 2. And there, it was happening. I could not help to smile a bit. I was happy. Everything was repeating itself. I looked at Mori when I saw Miyori. The same face he made the last time. You lucky! I was enjoying the moment. So, this was it. I could be much funnier now. I would now talk to her and perhaps I would even talk her into hiding behind the other pairs when the instructor told us to switch partners. Some people did it. I remember from before that Yoshiko asked me to dance with her like that, because she was being chased by some boy she didn't like. This wasn't true! I must have lost track of time when I was thinking and I missed the instructor's call. Now there were boys all around the girls already asking them to dance. And there, someone else asked Miyori already. For a second, I did not know what hit me. In a sort of automatic reaction, I moved towards the girls, my head spinning. I don't even know, I guess I came to Rin and asked her. I was dancing with her, but I wasn't there. This is not true. Here, I had the greatest opportunity to relive the most beautiful moment of my entire life, and I blow it. What kind of an idiot am I? This is irreversible. I will never get a chance to do that again, to feel that fragile body, to touch that beautiful being. Mori looked at me with a face that said that I could have gone for it, maybe? I watched Miyori, then I probably just gave up. I mean, I had it going so well. I handed her the code the other day. Why do I have to stupid fail at this time? The worst thing is, even my unconfident me has done it. I know now I'll be just justifying myself. I will find 1,000 reasons why that thing I did was the right thing to do, but I will stay a loser. Just thinking about it, it made me so angry. I actually could do something about Miyori, the girl I still think is the most beautiful human being I ever saw in my entire life. In a way, I think maybe I could have made it all the way. I could make it work between us two. Something I would never thought possible back before the Redux. But now I had the skill and the experience to be able to do it. Not rushing it, of course. Taking it step by step. It would work. So why this? Here, I get a chance. A second chance, and I let it go. Idiot, fool, stupid. The conversation with Mori after classes made me realize he did not take it too tragically. Of course, because he did not know anything. But the whole day was ruined. I knew Miyori would never come to our group again. Now what was I supposed to do? The dance with Miyori back then changed everything. Because of that, when I saw her a few days later in the school and we went past each other, I said a silent hi with my head and she returned the greeting. It was a huge advancement. At that time I did not have particular thoughts about whether if I was going to meet her at school, I was going to greet her. It came really naturally. In a way, I felt I had to greet her, because it would have been really rude. At that time, I still had some doubts, because of how I rushed into the dance with her, but I guess I felt that she was okay with it when we danced. Or so I hoped. Anyway, there was very little doubt in my mind when I saw her. It is amazing how many thoughts one can have in 1 second. When I saw her and I noticed she noticed me, I instantly played back the dance. Her every facial expression I remembered when I dared to look at her. Most of the time I tried to avoid her eyes. Of course, I was so nervous, I feared her look could kill me or something. The fact that we greeted each other had a tremendous impact, at least in my mind, on my chances with Miyori. This was not some kind of a fairy tale. What I have managed to accomplish in those 3 weeks was beyond any of my expectations of realistic hopes. Because we now greeted, it was like we were some sort of friends, or at least we knew each other and were not complete strangers. For instance, when someone asked me about Miyori, I could say yes, I know her. Of course, I would not talk to anyone about Miyori like that. That was just an example. Or maybe if I would meet her in a bus, which was highly unlikely, but that is also an example. I could start a conversation because we greeted, so it is natural that when two people greet they can talk. It would make no sense not to be able to talk. Well, but now all that seemed so distant that I saw absolutely no way I could do anything. What? Greet her? Now? I mean, I just handed her that code the first day. How can that be enough? When I greet her now, it will seem like I like her. Everyone will know, because they, and most of all she, will hardly know me. This was terrible. The really bad thing was that despite those thoughts, I could not set a way of how to handle that kind of situation. Normally I should tell myself not to greet her. I would be stress-free and nothing would happen. But I knew that there was always this part of me that would doubt that decision. And to be indecisive in such a situation, that was a thing I could not afford. I could make a complete fool out of myself, and the consequences could be catastrophic. I thought about nothing else those days. I even discussed it with Mori a little. Naturally, he told me to greet her. Obviously, because he was not in my situation, and it was so easy for him to be the man of action. Your thinking is stupid. Stupid! Your friend is telling the right thing. The worst thing was that I knew it from the start that I will not be able to decide. I would be plagued by all those thoughts and possibilities until I would meet Miyori in the corridors and I would be all alone. The one who would help me.